Oh yeah!
Welcome everyone to this edition of Fit Stripes Live. I am your host, Daniel. We are really excited to have everyone on here tonight as we will be previewing the series coming up between the Miami Marlins and division rival, the Philadelphia Phillies. As you can see, we do have the usual suspects on here tonight. Noah Berger, Dr. Isaac Azout, I don't know what he's a doctor of, Adam Agbani, Greg Heifer, Eli Sussman, and our guest, Stoffer Cochran. Stoffer, it's great to have you on tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me on, y'all.
The first thing I want to go about and talk a little bit is this Cubs series that just recently happened. Marlins did lose that series 2-1. Not really the best series for the Marlins. We did see a debut where we did see a really great pitching performance on that final day. We'll start with Grant. Grant, what did you see overall from the Marlins at Wrigley?
Well, it looks like just two mediocre teams that look like their season's coming to an end. You know, just had like any other August series, especially you saw that with that lineup on Sunday from the Marlins. It was quite the getaway day lineup. So really, I mean, you really can't take away too much from it. I don't feel like we're entering a point in the year where the Marlins are just going to tune it down, play their prospects. I'm sure the Cubs are looking at that too. The Cubs have Field of Dreams coming up, so I'm sure they're looking towards that. And just a bunch of meh from that series.
Yeah. Eli, what were your thoughts of the series, and especially that final game where we just saw a really great performance from Jesus Luzardo?
I want to kind of boil together the whole last week, how unusual it was, how special it was in the wrong ways. If you combine the Cubs series and the Reds series, like there was not more than 4 runs scored in any game the entire week between these teams. Like it's very hard to find other examples of this, even this year or in Marlins history, where you have like a full week of games that are decided by whichever team is competent enough to get one big hit or to hit one home run. Lucky enough, you could say. So it was very similar to the previous series that they also lost 2 out of 3 at home. And I guess you could also say that the positive was in this past series that Pablo was actually surely the weakest link of the rotation. And Edward Cabrera in the first game was pretty great, but on a pitch count. And Luzardo in that last game was even better. And thankfully he got a little bit of run support because Peyton Burdick hit his first career home run in that game. He went back-to-back with Jacob Stallings, of all people, just to get enough support for Luzardo in that game. And I am really interested in seeing what Luzardo looks like these next few starts when, no offense to the Reds and the Cubs, but when he faces actual competent deep lineups with more patience and more power. He's taking care of business coming off the IL in these 2 starts. I will be a lot more sold on him as like a surefire fixture of the middle of this rotation if he keeps it going against, not in this series, but that's looking ahead to the Braves and I think to the Dodgers. This was a very good step forward, especially seeing not only the quality of his stuff, but the command that he had of his stuff, especially his changeup. Like this was one of the better starts of his whole career, regardless of competition. That was obviously a bright spot.
Yeah, and a big thing that the Marlins did do before this series, you mentioned bringing up Payne Burdick and just really going kind of like a youth movement in terms of ending the season. Adam, what did you see from the Marlins in terms of their young guys like Blade, Burdick, Lewin? Just what did you see from some of the young guys that the Marlins put out there at Wrigley?
Yeah, so for me, the shout out to Romeo Rodriguez there with Joe Goldberg. For me, it was like, I think this is the correct strategy. You know, they didn't really do a whole lot in terms of tearing down the team in terms of a career prospects, as like we would have hoped, or at least I would have hoped at the trade deadline. But this is definitely the right move to go. You want to see what you've got in the younger guys, and Peyton Burdick going yard on Sunday nights or Sunday afternoon, and Jesus really shoving and throwing 7 really, really strong innings. You're going to see a lot from this Marlins team in the next few years, and I'm very confident about the rotation. And, obviously I've made my thoughts known about the bats, but I really think, Peyton Burdick coming up, and there's still things to be excited about. And seeing Jacob Stallings hit that home run, he's had a really tough year making turnarounds, lots to look forward to. And I think, there's a lot to look, definitely.
Yeah, and Isaac, what really impressed you coming out of this series? What really stood out to you from the Marlins and Cubs? You're muted.
Sorry, well, Eli sort of stole my my stat. I was just going to say that the Marlins scored 4 runs in 3 games in Chicago. I had no idea that them and their opponent couldn't combine for more than 4 runs in the last 2 series. That's what impressed me the most. But to answer your question, it's Edward Cabrera and Jesus Luzardo. Luzardo didn't strike out 9 or 10 like he sometimes is able to in his best career starts, but that was really a hell of a start for him. Using that changeup and getting a lot of strikeouts on that pitch, on that third pitch for him was really nice to see. And Edward Cabrera, 5 no-hit innings, struck out, 8 guys, I believe it was. So though you're young, 2 babyface aces, well, those 2 anyway, they looked really good against, albeit a pretty crusty Cubs offense, but it was still nice to see.
Yeah, I wanted to go and ask Stoll for kind of like the same question I asked Adam, as he is more in time with prospects. What did you see from some of the young Marlins coming up, some of their top prospects, and what you saw from them against the Cubbies?
Well, what I saw was a lot of patience that they've learned this year in AAA. They patient at plate, putting in good hacks on the ball, and they don't have a lot of guys to look up to for that right now from the Marlins lineup.
Yeah. I think, the next thing we have to talk about, I wanted to ask all of you guys, in terms of all the young players that the Marlins have brought up as of late, who has been the most impressive to you? We'll start with Grant. Grant, of all the young players they've brought up as of late, which one has really stood out to you?
I mean, I feel like they've all had their ups and downs, but I'm going to give a biased answer since I got to see it up close. So JJ Bleday had quite the first week. I know he's cooled down a little bit, and maybe, some of these guys have adjusted, but I think he definitely has the brightest future of them all. I think he's showing, what his ceiling could be.
Yeah. Same question to Adam. I want to get all your thoughts on this for everybody here in stream. Just who really impressed you so far of all the young guys? Who has really stood out to you?
Muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good, man. I'm a big Peyton Burdick fan. I'm a big fan of the guys who have one really, really strong tool, and the fact that it's a slugging and isopop tool is something I think is going to really take him a long way and could carry his career even if he's not going to hit for a high average and it's going to whiff. So I'm a really big fan of JJ Bleday. There's obviously a lot of great guys. You've got the young third baseman. I'm blanking on his name right now. His name sounds like the race driver for Ferrari.
Charles LeBlanc.
Yeah, Charles LeBlanc. Yeah,
like, oh, right
Charles LeBlanc has been really good. But there's a lot of good answers, and I want to let you guys say some. But I think for me, definitely Peyton Burdick.
Yeah, we need to spend some time on LeBlanc just because Alex Carver's not here and somebody needs to pick up the slack for him. This was ever since, honestly, like late April. It was only a few weeks into the year that Alex was like knocking on the door with this guy. He's a steal. He's a steal in the minor league phase of the Rule 5 draft. And everything has been proven. He's been validated immediately by this. I mean, the fact that he's reached base in every single game. I think he's hits in all but one of his games. And it's not just cheapy hits. There have been a lot of extra base hits, and the exit velos, even when he gets out, are pretty impressive. Like the quality of contact he's making is pretty great. When he is making contact, the strikeouts are there. Even off the top of my head, I know it's a far worse than average strikeout rate to this point.
7 and 27 at bats.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, a lot of those have been looking. Like, usually when it's an inexperienced hitter, you think that they might be over aggressive or that they might just be overwhelmed by the quality of the stuff they're seeing. And what makes is a little peculiar is that there have been some that have been just taking pitches that caught a lot of the plate in this small sample. So at one point that's odd, but in my mind, that's actually a little encouraging. Like, I feel like that's one thing that's something you could overcome or adjust to a little more so than if you're just whiffing at everything. So the numbers for him are off the charts. I mean, if you care about the small sample size, he's been one of the top 10 hottest hitters in baseball since he got called up in July 30th, any way you slice it. So it's been awesome. And it's been good to see that they are putting full trust in him to be an everyday player. He has been at third base almost every single game. He was at second base one of these recent games. I know I'm frozen, but I'm still very much here and thinking about Charles LeBlanc. So that's the most pleasant surprise, I guess, is that they have been willing to, for the time being, move guys out of his way to keep him in the lineup every day. That will be a fascinating thing to see later this week. Once Birdie comes back, once Brian Anderson comes back, they are finishing up rehab assignments in Jacksonville, playing tonight and then expected to play tomorrow. And then they'll be back here in the majors, two guys that play a lot of third base as well. So that'll be fascinating to see. I think already to this point, it's clear that LeBlanc is going to get a pretty long leash to stick around until he stops raking.
Honestly, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have Lewin, who's just not getting any time because of how much they want to give at bats for some odd reason to Garrett Cooper and Jesus Aguilar, and they want to have them both playing first base, and they're not giving pretty much any time to Lewin.
Yeah,
Craig
addressed that one because now he's sitting against a right-handed pitcher, and they're doing completely the opposite of what they said they would do, which was give him a lot of at-bats and give him an extended look, and they're not doing that. I think he started once in the last 4 or 5 games. It's really frustrating, the fact that he just doesn't get the ABs they need to see him play, and it's tough. They're doing the completely opposite of what they said they would.
Yeah.
Now, this is an issue that I want to address formally with the team at some point, is about the pronunciation of LeBlanc's last name. Because throughout his season at Jacksonville, I think it was pretty consistently LeBlanc. And then he comes up to the majors and Paul Severino makes the C silent at the end. I'll have to actually go to an official source to get confirmation on that. Because we've been saying LeBlanc all year. And I know it's French.
His name has been announced in the press box as LeBlanc.
Yeah.
We're deriving influence from Wade LeBlanc, the one pitcher from a while ago.
Yeah, but also from the broadcast in Jacksonville and his opponents as well. It didn't seem to be a non-issue. But then, Paul Severino, he does his job well. So he's not. I don't think he's doing this to antagonize him. I think he must have reason to believe that it's silent at the end. So we will get that settled before the next stream for sure.
I wanted to go back a little bit and mention what you guys talked about before. Eddie Cabrera, his really incredible performance against the Cubbies, having, going 5 innings, having a no-hitter, 8 strikeouts. Stouffer, what did you see from Eddie Cabrera, especially coming out, having a pitching limit and just making the most of that performance against the Cubs?
It was weird to see some of the misunderstandings about it. Where when it was happening, there seemed to be a few people, at least in our audience, that were annoyed that he was taken out or being prepared to be taken out, even with a no-hitter intact. And it went exactly according to plan. The idea was he was not prepared physically to make a full-length start. They had to work him up gradually. And I think, they were deciding at the last minute whether to bring him up for this start or make one more rehab start to get stretched out. And just so happened that they had enough relievers available and coinciding with the off day, it made sense to bring him up without being a detriment to the rest of the team. And I could defer to everybody else. He was just awesome in this start, and it was extremely encouraging. Same thing with Luzardo, where I'll be even more encouraged if he does this against above average offenses in the coming weeks.
Yeah, Stouffer, just going back to you, same question about Eddie, what you saw from him, especially pitching limits, having no hitter, going against the Cubs. Just what else did you see from it?
Well, I think the biggest thing is he was given a limit, and you could tell that he knew that from the start, so he was going and attacking. I think that's the key for young pitchers. If they go and they attack, I think they have a lot better success rate, especially if they're confident in their stuff, which he is.
Yeah, and also just Isaac, this is your guy, Jesus Luzardo. Well, what did you? This is a guy who came in and just dominated the Cubs, just the entirety of that game. And overall, what did you see from him? What was his stuff looking like? And especially, like Eli mentioned before, do you think this is something that he can continue doing as the competition level increases.
Muted.
Muted again.
Yeah, I see no reason why not. I forgot to mention ahead of as soon as the stream started that I like the new intro. Me and Luzardo, I think we look good together, him and I. Sorry, shit, bad day for me. But yeah, no, Luzardo, I really don't see why not. The velocity was there, 97, 98. I think further along the season, you'll see it go up to the normal 99, 100. Him with his glasses, man. There's very few left-handed pitchers that are better than he is. So yeah, no, I definitely I was high on him as soon as his spring training started. I was high on him after I saw him pitch his last regular season game last season, where he struck out I think 10 or 12, something crazy. And all spring training, he was great. All regular season, he was great. He got hurt. He's come back and really hasn't missed the beat. He's getting the strikeouts. His curveball looks as nasty as ever. He's locating pretty well. His fastball location is so good sometimes that he's almost impossible to hit. So I'm very encouraged by what I've seen from him. And like Eli said, we'll see him face the Braves this weekend. We'll see him face some tougher teams for the duration of the year. But yeah, I'll be very encouraged if his numbers stay where they're at.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and talk about the injury report that came out today about just different Marlins. And as you can see here, Max Meyer going TJ surgery along with Cody Petit. Also, because I believe he had a really serious injury that was reported as of late. We'll go with Eli. Just what do you see here from these injuries? What really stands out to you? And maybe also talk about a little bit Cody Petit and him going TJ surgery.
I see likely at least one guy that might never pitch for the Marlins again. When you look at Holloway and Poteet both being out for the year, Holloway being out of options going into next year, and Poteet, even though he pitched well, being somebody that he's out for the entire 2023 at this point. If he's having Tommy John soon and hasn't even had it yet, that's a longer recovery time than arthroscopic would be. With those guys, if you just look at the way that this pitching staff lines up heading into next year, there's only so many people you could fit on the 40-man roster during the offseason. What we expect to yet again be a pretty busy offseason. And as confident as I feel about some of these other arms, I think you look at these guys right near the top in Holloway and Poteet that could be the odd men out. And somebody like Holloway that I don't even know if he has much of any trade value considering how much he struggled this year at especially at AAA and why he got such a limited cup of coffee in the majors. So that's what stands out to me. But this other stuff was kind of as expected. Everybody progressing kind of on track. We're going to have some nice reinforcements rejoining the team in the near future. The position players I already mentioned, and as well, this guy's like Cole Sulser. He's getting very close. But it sucks for both Holloway and Poteet. So, and I think it's not too early to look forward and wonder whether one of those two, if not both, could be potential DFA candidates heading into the offseason, just a numbers crunch.
I wanted to ask Grant, there's a certain player right there, right underneath Cole Sulser. Your guy, Sixto Sanchez, throwing a 2-inning simulated game on Saturday for the 15th time in his rehab assignment. But
look, Sixto is the one athlete I will defend with my life.
That's
go ahead with finish your question.
Interesting.
No, that was my question.
That was the question.
So everything.
So yeah, he's had quite the journey. I put a tweet out earlier about it, and I mean, the guy just since his 2021 spring training injury, I mean, it's been very up and down for him. Couple injuries, questions about his work ethic, but I think he's finally on a path where maybe he's going to give himself a chance to play baseball again. I know there were some serious questions. Even I was questioning it myself this time last month, but there's been some encouraging signs over the past month. His velo is back in the 90s. And I will say this, I would never expect him to start again unless it's a bullpen game. He's going to get moved to the bullpen for full time, but I would expect Sixto Sanchez to maybe be the closer next year for the Marlins. I don't know, some kind of a relief role, but I think that he's in a spot right now to get himself ready for the offseason. I'd say best case scenario, you could see him with FCL or the Jupiter Hammerheads at some point. Mm-hmm. But this process is going well. And the 2-inning sim game, I feel like that's going to go well for him. At least I hope. This is a guy I'm 100% rooting for. I definitely have a big fascination with him. I know a lot of people within Fish Stripes, within Marlins media, are just kind of done with him. But I've got hope for Sixto, and I'll definitely be rooting for him, and hopefully we can see him with the Marlins at some point in 2023.
Back spring training, he was asked whether he would be open to transitioning to a bullpen role, and he flat out said no. So,
well, things have definitely changed since then, and look what the way his progression has gone. I know it's baby steps, but I think we have to get real at some point. I don't think Sixto is ever going to start a game for the Marlins again. I just don't think with his injury history already that he's going to be able to be a starting pitcher. And if he does, he's going to be like a 5-inning kind of guy. And at that point, it's like, why even start him? I know that's kind of the era of baseball we're in now, but I just don't really see a point with that. If he can get his velo back up and he could stay healthy, change some of his work ethic habits, maybe shed some pounds. I'm just being critical. You got to be realistic here. Then maybe. But I see a bullpen role for him. I think that would suit him and his career best. I definitely think he could have a good intro, ninth inning intro, like the one we just saw with Edwin Diaz that circled around Twitter this week. And I feel like we could get a good Sixto one.
Well, first, let me just address this question. Sixto, in the sim game, he will presumably be pitching against guys who are at extended spring training or, guys that aren't even assigned to
is it happening soon?
It's I think it's happening on Saturday. It seems like he's only pitching once a week because I believe he has thrown bullpens or he's done live BP on previous Saturdays. Yeah, it seems like he pitches once a week, which is like a starter's schedule. So I disagree with Grant about the bullpen thing to some extent, just because the reason why I liked him so much as a prospect is because he has a whole lot of starter traits that you love. It was a lot of things. He did a lot of things well to be the consensus, one of the very best pitching prospects in baseball. He's a very deep pitch mix. He has excellent command, or he did. My pessimism, as I think you alluded to, other people at Fish Stripes have kind of given up on him, is I just feel this injury is, it doesn't look like he's coming back to being the old version of himself stuff-wise. You said he is throwing in the 90s, but he used to be a guy that was throwing in the high 90s. He was sitting in the high 90s with his velo. And if he was at that level right now, I think either him or people around the team would be louder in declaring that. To this point, there's not much evidence that his stuff is even close to what it used to be. I'm still skeptical about that.
Right, and I feel like getting him in an actual game with FCL or a low A ball is definitely like absolute best case scenario at this point. But I'd say this offseason is going to be huge for him to work. I think this offseason could make or break his Major League Baseball career, really. And I don't know if we'll see him opening day 2023 with the Marlins, but I think we'll see him at some point. It's just the role is the question right now. I really don't know. We'll see.
Anyway, we'll put Gabriel up here. He's one of our super followers. So anytime you want to comment in there, we'll be sure to throw it up about Sixto not getting enough credit. Yeah, we'll see with him. It so much depends on his health and also his motivation to get back to what he used to be. And as you mentioned, it's a huge offseason because he's going to be out of minor league options entering next year. It's going to be a make or break spring training with him. Either he makes the team or who knows what. And certainly, but baby steps forward, facing live hitters in a few days.
Yeah, and another player that is, I believe, one on the injured list, but not in the majors, but going down to Pensacola Blue Wahoos, and that was Yuri Perez. Stouffer, what happened there with Perez? Is it just pitching limit, or are they trying to limit him for the year, shutting him down? What's happening with Perez, and is this something Marlins fans should worry about?
I don't think it's anything to worry about. He's having a great year, and he's got a lot of innings on him, and he's only 19 years old. So I think there's no need to rush him with what we have currently almost at the majors or at the majors. Take it slow. 19, we'll get there.
Yeah, and I also wanted to ask Eli, talking about some of those other injuries. I think the one that I really want to go ahead and mention just about Cole Sulser you mentioned. Is that someone that we can expect around this time later this month or starting really next month? Because Cole Sulser has really been on the IL for a sneaky long time as of late.
It has been since sometime in June. It feels like a big chunk of the season that he's been missing. He should be back. He's pitching an inning in Jacksonville on Wednesday. He's close. He might pitch either. Sometimes this team likes guys to go on back-to-back days. It's possible he'll do Wednesday and Thursday and then be cleared to return after that. Either way, you're talking about within a week. He should be back on this upcoming homestand, whether it is during the Braves series or the Padres series. He'll be back. He was somebody that very early in the season showed he was one of the better relievers they had in their pen. And then he had a couple very costly mistakes that he made in high leverage situations, but overall he makes their pen better, certainly, and he has a bunch of years of control even beyond this year. That the Marlins, that was a big reason why they traded for him, because Sulcer, it wasn't only about this year. He's going to be very affordable for them for years to come. And he does some simple things well. Nathaniel mentioned also Paul McIntosh going on the AA-IL, and we're pretty big fans of PMAC, a lot of us here. So that was disappointing to see. I'm not sure about the specifics of his injury. I haven't rewatched his final few games to see if there's anything that stood out, and I wasn't totally sure. So still no word on what particularly that is holding him back. But it's unfortunate because we've been clamoring for him to at least get bumped up to AAA, and now it seems less likely that even that's going to happen this year with him. But he's had a good year regardless. It's been successful for somebody that was an undrafted free agent to be one of the more productive hitters in the system when he's been healthy, still doing just enough to stick at catcher, while also having the ability to play other positions. So on the minor league side, yeah, that was disappointing news too.
Yeah, Adam, you wanted to mention something about Perez. What was on your mind about Yuri?
Yeah, so for me, Yuri, I was thinking about this earlier in the season, and I wasn't on Fish Stripes at the time, but I could see Yuri Perez with the kind of production he was putting up in AA, especially early this year, and he's obviously hit some road bumps recently. The kind of trajectory he's on, he's on a Julio Urias kind of path. And actually, we talked about that. Actually, I might have been on the space or on this stream. I can't remember exactly, but I would be hard pressed to find a better teenage pitcher anywhere on the planet than Yuri Perez. And I think, he's got just as good as an opportunity to be the next Cy Young kind of pitcher, just up there with Grayson Rodriguez or. Well, I think, in my opinion, Daniel Espino is likely the most, but Yuri, with being a year or two younger than him, Daniel Espino is he's absolutely fantastic, and he's got a 4 or 5 pitch mix, and with his uptick in velocity up until he's teeing 98 now, I believe, with that 6'8" frame and elite mechanics. I honestly think he can be arguably the best pitcher in baseball at some point, and him and Sandy are going to be constituting one of the best 1-2s in the starting rotation in baseball for many, many years to come. And I have a lot of faith in Yuri Perez to arguably be the best pitcher in baseball someday.
Yeah, and with that, I think now it's a great time to go ahead and talk about this series coming up, playing today between the Marlins and the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies are easily one of the hottest teams in baseball, especially after the trade deadline and the moves they've made. Guys are coming back off the injury list at the right time. Guys are getting really hot. Noah, what are your expectations for this series? What can we see? What are your hopes?
I'm hoping it doesn't rain. We just got pics now of them putting the tarp on the field, so that's not very exciting. I'm hoping for the Marlins to at least not get manhandled like they did against the Mets. You at least go down. If you're going to go down, at least go down with some level of dignity.
There's a Sandy game this series, so at least there's that.
Well, guys, the last time the Miami faced Philadelphia, they got swept as well, and there was a Sandy game in that series as well. So,
say it again.
The last time Miami faced Philadelphia, they got swept, and Sandy also pitched in that series.
Exactly. Yeah. If you lose with Sandy on the bump, your dignity is all.
Did we have a Charles LeBlanc that series? Did we?
No, we didn't.
Did we have a Billy Hamilton?
Yeah, he was there.
It was like a one
start.
Yeah, to refresh everybody's memory, they were outscored 16-1 in that series right before the All-Star break. That's when that scoreless streak started. That ended up being a franchise record tying scoreless streak on both sides of the All-Star break. Sandy pitched in the series opener, and he did great, but he didn't get any support.
That was the first game of Sandy's Beach.
Yeah, I think it was. And then the rest of that series, they just got the doors blown off because that was Max Meyer's debut. That was yeah.
I beg of one thing from this Marlins team. I beg of one thing from this Marlins team. Score some dang runs.
All right.
It's hard to disagree.
I wanted to ask Stouffer, what are you seeing from the Phillies, especially just how hot they've been as of late? Again, playing Nationals, but it is Major League Baseball. You have to hit, you have to score runs, you have to pitch. What did you see from the Phillies, and how worried should maybe the Marlins be going up against one of the hottest teams in baseball?
They should be worried. They got a good balance on their team, and that's the problem, because for the Marlins anyway, that's good for them. But they got a good balance, and they got guys they can lean on when other guys aren't producing. So I think the more people that the Marlins can promote and come up and get those people that they can lean on, I think that'll do wonders for them in the future. But it's going to be a tough series against the Phillies, and I will say this though: if the Marlins win every series from here on out, we should be in the playoffs, right?
Every single series. Then
Got to win every
Even
single
I-
series.
Hang on, even I'm not that optimistic.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that same topic for some reason. I don't know why. We reached that point in the year where it's still a full third of the season to go, but yet the kind of miracle it would take for people that follow the Fangraphs playoff odds, they are down to 0.1%. Not flatlined at 0, but still clinging to 0.1 entering
So you're
this
saying
series.
there's a chance. All right.
Update. It's pouring at Citizens Bank Park.
Okay, so yeah, as people are watching this, perhaps there will be some sort of delay to the start of the series.
And for this series, Noah talked about, we need to score some runs. Not so fast. We have Wheeler, Syndergaard, Gibson. Good luck.
Yeah.
Well, all I heard was Wheeler.
I think you have to bring in the man of the
Syndergaard
hour.
had a really good first start with the Phillies. Maybe this is a career revival for him, being back in the East.
Alex Carver, you're in here. Thoughts? Anything you have? Minor league, the series. What's on your mind? Get it off your chest.
Well, I'm not happy because Troy Johnston was just placed on the 7-day IL. That's sad.
Ooh.
Quite sad. PMAC is already there. Yuri's there. Pensacola's getting eaten up by injuries, man. I don't know what's going
It's an
on.
organizational problem.
The injuries are contagious.
Yeah, guess so. It's not just the Marlins; it's the rest of the system too. Anyways, losing 2 of 3 to the Cubs. Like, what else can I say? I mean, this is a turbulent time to be a fan of this team. It's a very hard team to watch. It's a very hard team to follow. They're still not managing the roster right. I'll stick to it. It's been better lately, but it's still not exactly what it should be. I wish they would have committed to selling. They didn't, but it's going to be a struggle for the rest of the year, man. Injury wise, like we just said, and then performance wise when they're not injured. Thankfully, we have Charles LeBlanc and Peyton Burdick to keep us sane. So I guess we could just stick to that. I will say one thing: JJ Bleday has been a struggle since his first couple of games. I'm not saying to send him down. These are the guys they need up and learning at the major league level. So I think that's what they need to commit to, man. Just get the kids up, see what you got. If you don't have anything, you can do something in the offseason. But as we already talked about, and I mentioned all the time, I don't want to lose guys for nothing. So
Alex,
that's what they should be committing to. They haven't, but
Alex, I want to know what you think about how they're not utilizing Lewin Diaz.
same old, bro. They called him up to sit on the bench. Like, they're just not into this player the way that they should be. That's all I can say.
Alex,
Excuse
we're
Aguilar,
a long
baby.
way now from JJ Bleday's that's incredible first at bat with the walk, the infamous walk that you loved. You mentioned JJ, but what about Payne Burdick? What are you seeing from him, and just overall something to be happy about from the Marlins?
It's way too early, man. And this was your feel-good moment. My feel-good moment of the whole season. You guys may have other ones regarding Sandy and stuff like that, but I'm glad this guy's getting his shot, man. I'm glad all these kids are getting their shot, and they should be doing it more, like I said. But Payne's the guy, man. He's built like a ton of bricks, as I always say. Huge upper half, and you see what he does when he gets a hold of the baseball. So he needs to do that more. That's what I will say. That was his problem in his minor league career. Will likely permeate into his major league career. I'm not going to judge him based off the sample size we've seen just yet, but I expect that to continue. But the Marlins need to be able to coach more contact out of this guy, and coaching hitting in this organization isn't easy. So I hope that he comes by it more naturally himself. I think that he can. He just plays with so much damn physicality that he's going to swing and miss at good pitches a lot, but he swings at great pitches. That's the thing about it. So it's a weird mixture of a guy that swings at good pitches, but just with how much vigor he puts into everything that he does, as we all know, he's going to miss the baseball. So that's what he needs to fix. And that's hard to do. That's not easy for any organization to do. This guy is naturally a physical player. You're not going to tell the guy to stop being physical. That's what you're not going to do, because you love that about him. That's one of his main qualities. You just hope he can find more barrels. And if he can, he's definitely going to come by a better average. So that's what I hope. But in the meantime, he's definitely got great power, definitely looks at good pitches like Blade, looks at balls, close pitches. Like Blade, look, you see him looking at close pitches. Burke's the same kind of guy. He just needs to find the baseball more with the bat. That's really the thing that needs to really improve with him. Can it happen? Maybe. It's going to be hard, though.
Yeah. And also something that we talked about was Yuri Perez, really quick mention. You have a lot of thoughts on that? If you have to rant, if you have to do anything, I think this is now the perfect time about Yuri Perez for you.
No, I really don't have much to rant about. I mean, the guy has arm fatigue. What are you going to do? I think it's very smart to take it as cautiously as possible with your prized number one prospect one of the number one prospects in all of baseball, top pitching prospect in all of baseball by a lot of outlets, and top prospect overall in your organization. He's 19 years old, just got to Double-A, pitching his first full slate of innings, really, or close to his full slate of innings. You're gonna, if he says something's bothering him, shut him down immediately. I 100% agree with the approach. It's totally fine. Will he pitch again in 2022? Hear different things. I hear maybe. I hear no. So if he doesn't pitch again in 2022, I won't. Honestly, I'll be upset for Pensacola fans because that's who you show up to see, especially now that PMAC and Troy is hurt and Urar's not there anymore and Burdick's not there anymore. Blade's not there anymore. They're in AAA this year. So who do you show up to see? And that roster is getting thinner, man. So that's all I feel bad for is people that show up to see Pensacola. But yeah, I mean, I guess you can still go see Zach and people like that. But it'll suck for them. But from an organizational standpoint, I actually agree with it. If this guy is not feeling 100% fine, I don't risk it. So I'm actually all for this decision making for once by the organization.
Right. And tonight in Pensacola, people can see Trevor Rogers. It's not a prospect anymore. It's another reason.
I don't know how much there's going to be to see, but maybe hopefully something, especially in Double-A basketball.
Yeah, I guess we should have mentioned that he wasn't I don't think he was even in that long injury report just because it was previously announced that this is his first rehab start. It's only been a couple weeks since he was last in the majors. Presumably he'll take multiple rehab starts, and if things go great, then they have a good problem on their hands thinking about where to put him back in the major league roster. But they could always simply option him to Jacksonville at the end of it if there's anything lacking in his game, as we've seen at the major league level most of this year. So we'll see how that goes. Certainly something to follow tonight, regardless of exactly whether this Marlins game goes on time with weather concerns happening.
Yeah,
like
Alex,
Victor's not even there anymore. Sorry, Adam. Like Victor's not even there anymore. So like with this thinned out lineup, I'm excited. I'm kind of interested to see what their lineup is going to. Did they put it out yet? Did you guys see?
Yeah, it was Devers right at the top, and but Conine is still there.
Phone, so I haven't seen it, but yeah, definitely using their backup guys because I haven't
Will Banfield in the heart of the order, even though he was struggling as it was. Of course. And of course, Nasim Nunez recently got brought up, so he's near the top. But he's first 2 days he's struggling to hit as well at that level.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think we can expect, especially if like Troy and PMAC are going to be out for a little while, you probably can expect some more movement, but. And I agree with this comment, by the way. Anyways, back to Pensacola. It's a thinned out lineup. It's gonna be an interesting go for them here as we begin second week of August. So see what happens with roster movement there.
Yeah, no, Alex, I just wanted to ask you something. Obviously, Yuri's very young, and there's no need to rush a 19-year-old who should be a freshman in college, who's already like several levels ahead of everyone else who's at the same age of him. Do you see this affecting his ETA to the major leagues if he doesn't end up really pitching the rest of the year? Do you see him start? I know you mentioned he should be starting in Jacksonville next April. Do you see him potentially being in Miami at any point next year, maybe as a September call-up or sometime maybe after the All-Star break, or honestly whenever he's ready? Just wanted to get your thoughts on that. So I'm kind of curious.
Sure. So I'll give you what I think, and I'm sure there's other thoughts on this from Eli, Isaac, and others. But from what I think, I don't think this derails him at all. Unless it turns out that this is something more serious. But we have not heard that yet. I don't expect that to happen. Like I said, I don't know if Isaac all of a sudden got his doctorate degree, but I do not have a doctorate degree. So I won't pretend to know anything more about medical situations than the next person. But from what I understand from Craig and other people that I've spoken with about Yuri is that it's literally arm fatigue, that the innings are wearing on him. He's feeling something in his throwing arm. And if a pitcher tells you, this pitcher especially tells you, he's feeling something in his throwing arm, you 100% are not going to risk letting that pitcher throw any more pitches until that is fixed. So, again, I don't think right now, in terms of what I know, in terms of what we all know, that this delays his call to Major League Baseball at all. I do think next season is completely possible. For those of you guys that were saying this year, I think you were kind of wishing for something that wasn't going to happen and now will not happen. So yeah, next season, I expect him to be in spring training with the Marlins and throwing. So not like one of these guys that they just bring up for the experience. No, he's going to be in spring training next year throwing pitches for the Marlins in a Marlins uniform. That's number one. Number two is, I think he's definitely will still start next season in AAA Jacksonville. And with good results, got to see how the season goes. You know, if the Marlins are somehow in the thick of it, do you rush this guy? Absolutely not. If the Marlins are out of it, it's less of a reason to rush him. You're not going to rush him at all. So I think the ETA for him remains the same for me across the board with the injury, no matter how the Marlins are doing next year. At the earliest, I will give it September of 2023.
Do you see him having like an innings limit early on? I'm not sure if you mentioned this, or do you see him like the Marlins just kind of letting him go right out of the gate, seeing like how many he can pitch in Jacksonville and seeing if he can like match up to that major league workload in AAA so he can be like a full-time starter in the major leagues at the age of 20, you know, before even next year? Do you see that as a possibility? Do you see him coming out of the bullpen for Miami when he does come into the major leagues?
No, I think they're fully committed to him as a starter, Adam. I don't think he's going to. Same with Max Meyer. I mean, you saw that as well. You guys were all saying that, he should be in the bullpen. No, these guys are starting pitchers according to the Marlins, and I think they're right in thinking that. Yeah. I did get clarity on something, Adam, though, in terms of his limitation. His limitation this year was 110 innings. So it's odd to me. It's a little odd to me that it's innings limit rather than pitch limit, because originally he was, per what we heard from the pitching coach Dave Island right when their season started, is that he wasn't expecting him to go over 75 pitches in the start. Now he's almost up over 90 pitches in the start, or was before he got this injury, whatever this ailment that he has. So it's kind of odd to me that they placed him on an innings limit rather than a pitch limit. That being said, it was 110 innings. He's at 75, I think.
73, yeah.
Okay, 73. So even if he comes back, how much more are you going to get out of him knowing that he's at 110 pitches? So it's not even worth it. What, 2-3 starts? Maybe? Like, it's not even worth it. Just let the guy rest for the rest of the year. And then to answer your question more thoroughly, in Jacksonville next year, I would hope and fully expect him to be without an innings limit as long as he is healthy.
Awesome.
Yeah. And also, this question from Alejandro, I think, is also a good one about Jake Eater, Stoffer, Alex. What are your thoughts on Jake Eater and just him coming to the minors?
Yeah, no, he was. Go ahead, Isaac. I've talked enough. Go ahead. Yeah, I don't know why I'm the only one answering prospect questions, because we have many more.
You're the prospect guy.
Doing it Stoffer.
Well, I think this one is fairly simple with Eater. He's not going to pitch in any affiliated minor league games during the season. I think the best case scenario, we were tossing this around with RM Layden of Just Baseball after we stopped recording last night, is I guess the best hope is that he's cleared to go in the Arizona Fall League and is treated like a starter there, because he had his surgery almost exactly 1 year ago, his Tommy John. And in the minors, it's always more than a full year of recovery time, especially if you're a starting pitcher. So the best case scenario would be getting him involved in the Fall League that starts in October. But we don't find out about that until it gets fairly close to when that's going. By all accounts, he's been pitching off a mound for quite a while now, for over a month at this point. But everything seems to be going fine. No reported setbacks with him, and he's even more so than Yuri. He's somebody that I think they can expect quite a bit at the major league level next year, that they can really count on him. He's a pretty great prospect in his own right, as long as he's healthy. And he's obviously more mature physically as a college guy.
And I think now we can go back to lineups. We had a very long, lengthy conversation about the minors, Yuri Perez, Pensacola. And going back to these lineups, I really want to focus on the Phillies lineup, because I think that's just an incredible lineup what they have there. Especially having Alec Boehm there at the third hole, because I think he's just been raking as of late, especially like the last, I believe, couple weeks or so, and how he's been performing. And then you look at the home runs, Rhys Hoskins, Kyle Schwarber having an insane year. Isaac, what are your thoughts on 1, 2? Well, let's go with the first 6.
The one guy that was close to being a Marlin, Nick Castellanos, he finally came out and started raking all of a sudden. Their $100 million player. Ever since that interview with the Philadelphia Reporter asking if he can hear the boos, he has come out and he has been hitting home runs. Albeit it was against the Washington Nationals, but he finally was able to get out of his, sort of season-long slump. He's still a negative WAR player in 2022, but he's been hitting the ball phenomenally. He's a little spoiler. He's going to be my series MVP for this series. I won't say who I think will win. Philadelphia's going to win. But, yeah, Alec Boehm also, he was also off to a slow start this year. He was sent down, I think, last season at some point after having a great 2020. And if all of these guys are hitting at the same time, it's as lethal of an offense in all of the National League. So it's going to be a very scary lineup for these young guys, maybe aside from Sandy, to face 3 times.
Yeah, and what do you guys think about, especially that first one right there, Kyle Schwarber, 34 home runs, a guy that the Marlins did look into. Just what are your guys' thoughts on Kyle Schwarber, on just him and just the raking he's just been done of late?
Terrifying.
Really quick
we
on
needed that power so bad.
He's insane. Yeah.
Just to finish off on Alec Boehm, since June 24th, the guy's hitting 380 with an OPS of 973. Alec Boehm he has been phenomenal for the Philadelphia Phillies, and that's why he's in the 3 spot.
I will say that what concerns me really the most is Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah.
When last time they were in Philly, he absolutely destroyed our pitching.
That's because Trevor Rogers was pitching.
No, he did it against everybody.
Can we also mention? I know nobody wants to talk about this player, but I'm going to mention him anyways because
Nardi.
I love the Sixto Sanchez trade. JT Realmuto since July 1st. What do you guys think he's doing?
I think I looked this up before. It's like probably an OPS well over 1,000, and he's been amazing.
Yeah, 341, 396, 682.
Must you make it hurt? Must you make it hurt more?
I forgot that Brandon Marsh was traded to Philadelphia. That's a fun name.
Yeah, that made no sense.
I like that ballpark for him.
The last note I wanted to add about Hoskins is that not only was he good against the Marlins last time he met, I mean, in this past series against the Nationals, he hit home runs in all 4 games. He is threatening a franchise record tonight. If he homers for a 5th straight game, that'd match the longest home run streak in Phillies history. So I think it puts into perspective. We talk about the Marlins beating up on the Nats, but then you see the way that other teams beat up on the Nats, not only winning every game, but winning them by massive margins. This whole lineup obliterated the Nats. They combined to hit, I think, 14 home runs in one series, averaging 4.5 home runs a game. Well, 3.5, I should say.
Must be nice.
Games. So just to put in perspective how hot they are, they've won 10 out of 11 overall. They are pretty firmly in the wild card mix at the moment. They're a good team. I don't think it's going to last forever. It's always a noble question is about, are they just going to keep rolling, or is this a series where a few guys fall back down to earth at the time and you get a surprise? It could go either way.
And then also another player I wanted to mention is Gene Segura coming back from injury. This is his 4th game since having, I believe, a broken hand. His last game before August 4th was May 31st. And he just came coming off a 3-hit game. I think it's just another guy that, could be pretty lethal in this lineup for the Phillies, especially putting him in the 6th lineup between Castellanos and Vierling. Isaac, is there really anyone else that really stands out to you in this lineup, or maybe even pitching-wise?
Sorry, I was responding to Lewin Diaz's focus tweet saying it must be different too when you're not in the lineup. No, I think we got it covered. I didn't know Kyle Schwarber at 34, man. Was he 2nd in Major League Baseball? It's just, you got to be really careful. They also acquired Sosa, that defensive-oriented shortstop from the Cardinals. Yeah. So, no, just line up 1 through 9. They'll give you trouble. Less so 8 and 9, but 1 through 7 you got to worry about.
Yeah. And now let's go to the Marlins side, and let's compare and contrast.
Do we have to?
We have to, yeah.
Could I mention something about Schwarber real quick?
Floor is yours.
So, sure. Schwarber is like a guy, like I think Graham mentioned how like it was kind of a kicker where the Marlins were kind of going after him, but they didn't, make the full commitment to Kyle Schwarber. He's the kind of player, the 3 true outcome guy, where he's always going to be on base. He'll strike out, but always hit for power. That's the kind of like safe bet, like kind of player you want. And even though he's like hitting 204, there's a reason why he's at the top of the lineup, because he's probably on basing some ridiculous amount. I can't see his walk rate, and he's also like he's already hit 34 home runs, and even though he's not maybe hitting too many doubles, it's carrying his slugging percentage and his OPS overall. So even when he's not hitting, he's not hitting at all. He's hitting 204. when he's not hitting, he's hitting and he's performing. So like if that makes sense. So he's the guy who's always going to be like a guy I'll always take a whiff on, even though if he's like, hitting like below the Mendoza line, always will give him a chance. Same thing like with like Yasmani Grandal, those kinds of players.
Yeah.
So that slash line's 204, 309, 496 with an 805 OPS. I mean, it's a solid year, and then those home run numbers are good too. I don't know what his RBI numbers are.
He leads the league in strikeouts and he leads the league in home runs.
67 runs batted in. He's got 58 walks.
Yeah,
142 strikeouts already. That's a little.
His walk rate is 12.6, strikeout rate 31%. So he's going to strike out. He might walk for you, but it's that first number right there after the average, the home runs that really sells for Kyle Schwarber and something that the Marlins really wanted, but I don't know what happened there. But another one to talk about here. Is there anyone in this Marlins lineup, especially looking at? I think everybody stands out to me is Brian De La Cruz hitting fourth. Is that something you guys would have expected?
Well, we've seen it quite a bit in recent days, so you can't really be surprised, I guess.
I think they're giving him one last ride here in the fourth spot before he goes down for Brian Anderson.
How many times have everybody said one last ride for somebody and they've been on the team for the entire rest of the year? I think we honestly need to stop using that phrase.
Right. So one thing
this is my first incident.
You can't like predict roster moves with this team. It's just not a thing.
Yeah,
correct.
Well, I think I could tell you that Hamilton will probably go down by the weekend, just by the looks of it.
How dare you?
Craig kind of hinted at that on Sunday night in our space that was hosted by our guy Kevin.
Brian De La Cruz hitting cleanup and just tells you how depleted of output and production this lineup is.
Right. I do want to point out with this, the fact that Stallings has been getting so much playing time, I know he's hitting better than he used to, but it's so strange that even since the All-Star break, even when it's become clear about what the season is and what it isn't, and being that's the year we're supposed to give the young guys more opportunity, he's received like a larger and larger share of the playing time than he was even earlier in the year compared to Fortes. And the fact that he can catch just about everybody at this point, at least before there was a system where Stallings would definitely catch Sandy and Pablo, and then Fortes would be in the mix for the other guys. And now there's no like clear rhyme or reason exactly when he gets used, except for the fact that Stallings is playing a lot. He's playing a lot for a guy that just being outplayed overall by Fortes.
Yeah, maybe
I can't believe they haven't adjusted to that yet.
Might be banged up or something because we mentioned JP Osborne was on the taxi squad, and you'd think Fortes will continue to catch Braxton. This is the second time I think that Stallings catches Braxton, but maybe something's up with Fortes. I don't want to speculate, but I'll have one of the reporters maybe ask.
Yeah, and talking about this lineup, I think we have to talk about the pitching matchups for this entire series because this is something that could favor the Marlins, especially when you go look at the other days. Sandy Alcantara against Noah Syndergaard, newly acquired from the trade deadline, on Wednesday, and then Thursday, Eddie Cabrera versus Kyle Gibson. Are there any other pitching matchups that you're really looking forward to, or maybe where even the Marlins have the edge in that competition? We'll go with Stouffer. What are you seeing from these other pitching matchups between the Marlins and the Phillies?
I think they're undermatched right now, but if they attack the zone and just pitch with attitude, I think they can hang tough.
Yeah, and Adam, same question. What do you really see, especially maybe that Eddie Cabrera start going up against Kyle Gibson?
Yeah, so you kind of cut out there, but you're just saying like what am I looking for with Eddie versus Kyle Gibson? Yeah. So Eddie is just he's got to continue just doing the same thing, man. He's got to make sure that I talked about this last stream. He's got to make sure he continues to keep his walk rates down. Got to make sure that he's got command of the strike zone, that he's even throwing strikes to begin with. His secondary pitches are going to be important. Establish that. I think especially against like Kyle Gibson. He's one of their best pitchers, and he's been fantastic. A former All-Star, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or if he had a really good season, I believe, a couple years ago in Minnesota. It's not going to be easy, especially with the lineup that Miami and Don Mattingly is fielding every day. So, if we're going to be staying, it's going to take a Herculean effort by Eddie on the mound and the bullpen to kind of like, keep them in the game, and hopefully something out can come from the offense. We can string together some hits and score some runs. But it's going to take a good effort from the pitching staff at any of these days, because they've got their three aces out there. So this is if they were starting a NLDS series right now, this is who they'd be throwing out.
Well, and it looks like BA is back and ready, just hitting a home run.
Hashtag pay BA is back, boys.
Yeah.
He did. He's starting in left field tonight. I think he's played third, right, and left on his rehab assignment. This is game 3, and good to see a home run, because over the last couple of years, he has, for whatever reason, been awful during his rehab games. Whereas with a lot of other major leaguers, they relish that opportunity. So this
is
is
a 3-run home run.
No,
rehab Jacob
it was a
DeGrom
solo
was the greatest
home run.
baseball player ever.
It was a solo home run. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, it was before the other two guys. I read it the wrong way.
And when I'm like talking about like investing in the team and making sure like you have a message for the future, like I'm talking about trading all the guys that I've talked about before, but like Brian Anderson is definitely a guy who I would definitely consider giving an extension to, if he's like, if the price is right and if he's willing to stay in South Florida. Like 100%, I'd love to have him around in the future.
Yeah, and I think with that, it's time for the best part of the stream. It is prediction time. But first, let's look at what happened last series. Last series, what happened? I think someone had a perfect series. I
made a decision by accident not to include the screenshot from those predictions. So people, I don't know, maybe you can claim you had a perfect series. Nobody knows for sure. Let me quickly put up the.
I'm not tied for 40th anymore, am I?
Things have indeed tightened up at the top of the leaderboard. Only a 2-point separation between Daniel Rodriguez and myself. And
hi, Alex.
I love my series MVP points.
So Grant has not yet crept into view on here, but
I think I've only gotten points in 2 series. I think I got one for the Reds, and I got a couple this weekend.
Okay,
where's my MVP?
There we go. So yeah, that's how. And as a new tradition, we are going to start off with our super followers predictions. This is something that we put out in the afternoon prior to every series opener on Twitter for our super followers. And if you can't see it, that's because you have not subscribed to us yet. All these people, they reply on Twitter with their predictions, and there's the scoring system that I just zoomed past really quick. But they get featured in this segment just like the rest of us by putting those predictions ahead of time. And you can only see super follows content if you super follow Fish Stripes. So
how much is that, Eli?
It's only $2.99 a month, and that's the lowest I could possibly go. And I do it because I love you guys. So just to show what people are picking, Gabriel Revilla, and I think he's in the chat with us here. He has the Phillies winning 2 out of 3 with Alec Boehm as his MVP, and he used every single character he had to explain his reasoning behind
I like that a lot.
So good. Thank you for Gabriel for that. Romeo Rodriguez has the Marlins winning 2 out of 3 with Sandy as his MVP. Devin has the Marlins also winning 2 out of 3. MVP Peyton Burdick. Riley Fuentes, Marlins sweep. Peyton Burdick gets his MVP. And Gerard Encarnacion Stan has the most Phillies sweeping with Reese Hoskins as the MVP. So
man, I guess Bella forgot to put her predictions. Whatever.
Yeah, maybe there's some people that put in predictions at the last minute. Those are the ones that I saw when I was preparing for the show. But you guys can submit it, I guess, all the way up to first pitch. The delay has brought people some extra time to get their predictions in. Yeah,
Scrap $2.99, the best investment you can make on Twitter. And with that, we'll go with Noah. Noah, prediction MVP. Give it to me.
Do I do it? Am I done? Am I done being optimistic? I think just by pitching solely, that was the word I was looking for. By pitching matchups, the Marlins have the advantage. And honestly, they could sweep it, but I'm not going to pick that because I'm not insane. I am insane, but I think they win 2 of 3. I think they win with Sandy and Edward on the mound, and I don't know who's in the lineup today.
Come on, man, answer the question.
I'm sorry. I'm going to go with Charles LeBlanc.
That's a good one right there. Perfect. Grant, your
fair.
series MVP and prediction.
I'm going to have to agree with Noah. I think we really only have one game this series where the Marlins have the better pitcher, really. I mean, this Phillies rotation is starting to get better. I think they're really coming together at the right time. I'm going to go 2 out of 3. I think they'll win the Sandy start. I'll give you that. And I'll go Rhys Hoskins. I think he'll continue that streak he's on.
Adam?
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to second Grant on the prediction. I think exactly he nailed it with Miami probably taking the Sandy start if they are going to win one. I'm not too optimistic on the Braxton or the Eddie Cabrera start. In terms of MVP, I'm going to go with Jake. I'm going to say Scott Kingery, JK. But let's go with Realmuto, former Marlin.
Oh, okay. Eli, what do you have for us?
I was wavering on this one. I do think it's going to be a very close series, but I ultimately had the Phillies winning 2 out of 3 with series MVP Nick Castellanos. You mentioned that he's been more competent lately, but I still think there's another gear. He still has not had, I don't think, a single series that he has individually dominated, yet they continue to play him every single day. He's been, by all accounts, a massive disappointment for them, but I think there's going to be a bright spot in here for him during this series. He's my MVP.
Isaac?
Marlins lose 2 out of 3, and Alec Boehm is the MVP.
All right. Short and sweet.
Short and concise. Let's all learn from that.
Stouffer?
I'm going to say Marlins 2, games 1, and I'm going to say JJ Bleday because you know what? When he gets on a roll, he gets hot.
Oh,
Alex, what do you got?
You guys pretty much laid out what I think. Well, a couple of you guys did. Phillies winning 2 of 3. JT Realmuto, for everything that we said before, is the MVP. There you go.
All right. I have a couple predictions from people who aren't with us right now. First off, Lewis, he has Marlins take 1 out of 3. Series MVP, JJ Bleday. So he has Marlins losing, but JJ Bleday MVP. Same thing with Brant. Marlins take 2 out of 3. JJ Bleday. Alex Kurchuk, Marlins 2 out of 3. Zach Wheeler. And then for Kevin, let me see if I have that. Here it is. Marlins take 1 out of 3. MVP, Rhys Hoskins. I'm going to go Philly sweep, Kyle Schwarber, MVP. I think Phillies are just too much right now, especially.
That's the ambitious move you needed to make to pass Eli this week.
If I got it all correctly for everybody on here, yeah.
My prediction's wrong. No. They are not winning this series.
Oh, I did have that. Okay.
So final thoughts. Marlins are in a delay. Anything you guys want to mention? Talk about anything. Marlins are in a delay right now, so
stuff is happening on the field, but I don't think they've taken the tarp off yet.
Yeah. So a delay. Be great if they could get a roof, but I know it's a relatively new ballpark, so they're not making that update anytime soon.
I do want to mention last week I was at the Jumbo Shrimp game and I saw Matthew Kent strike out a guy on a 58 mile per hour ephus pitch, and that was quite amazing. So that was fun.
Nice.
We need to bring that back.
Right? All the power nowadays, you start throwing these slow things up there. Their guys were so confused. They didn't know what to do.
I got to see the Asadillo 40 mile per hour ephus double play pitch. That was exquisite.
Yeah. Well, this is a good shout out for Matthew Kent. I think quietly he's among the organizational leaders in innings pitched this season. He's been in that rotation while certain guys have graduated to the majors, while other guys have gotten injured, but he's been there, and he's a unique sensation to watch. He doesn't have the typical stuff or approach of a prospect, but this has been
a K rate's not quite there.
Yeah, exactly. But I was watching him too, I think, in his last start, and I usually don't get the opportunity to do so. So I shout out to Matthew Kent, the crafty lefty.
All right. Call up Matthew Kent. That's what I'm hearing right now. But this has been a really great stream. Stouffer, thank you for coming on, taking time out of your day to join up. For Daniel, for Noah, for Isaac, Adam, Grant, Eli, Stouffer, Alex, who's watching Andrew Nardi, Josh Simpson highlights right now. That's why his screen is black. This is Fish Stripes Live, and do remember this always, go fish.
We got to end it off right. We got to